Hey everyone, Eric in the garden today. Day before Mother's Day, want to give you an update on the garden and show some maintenance that we'll be doing here today because of the wind. This is Randy Scott, looking real good. You can see the leaves are vibrant. We're starting to get some buds. Usually when you get to a little bit size of a pea, you still are a couple weeks out, but we're certainly getting closer to blooms. And when you have buds like that are called cracking, and what we mean by that is the sepals that are around the bud, as they start to go down, you're usually within a week or even less if the weather is hot of the blooms opening. So as you can see, things are looking pretty good. The biggest change in the garden is we finally had rain last night. Beggars can't be choosers. About 1/3 of an inch of rain. Better than nothing. I was hoping for more, but still not bad. This is Marlin's Day. This one is Jewel Grace. This is actually a rose I've had since about 2014 or 2015. It was at my New York garden. A friend was going to pick it up and then wasn't able to, so it moved down here in a pot, and it is looking really, really good here in the garden. Here's Zach Noble's. That is a sport of Let Freedom Ring. Let Freedom Ring is here. It took a little whipping in the wintertime and late spring where we had some of those late freezes. One of the best ones so far this spring is a Firm. It's a beautiful pink rose, a lot of petals. And again, we're just a couple weeks out. You can see the buds are starting to crack, but then there's a lot of blooms coming. So these that are a little bit larger than a pea to pea size, they are 2 to 3 weeks away. And it all depends on warmth. We were in the low 40s this morning. Pretty chilly for these parts the first 10 days of May. But if we get any 80 or 90 degree days, these things will open up and you can see beautiful leaves. This little residue, usually I use Manzate and propiconazole as a systemic, and then Manzate as a contact killer for black spot and protectant. This last time I like to mix mine up, so I used a little Captane, and that is a different fungicide classification. I do still have, on the new growth, everything's looking good. I was a little slack in the beginning of the year, especially this brown here is from the freeze damage that we had. So some of these leaves I just didn't get out and spray. So I have a teensy bit of black spot on the old leaves. So I'll remove those, or I'm just not too concerned about them. It is good to get the spores out of the garden, but all the new growth has had a systemic in it for a while, and it has the contact killer on it. So not overly concerned with black spot on old leaves. So things are looking good. Not a ton of blooms yet. We showed you the other day this Cajun Moon, not looking bad, and a few more are getting ready to open up. You'll notice the grass is greener, still some tinges of brown, because we mentioned that we did finally get a little bit of rain here in the garden. But next step is maintenance. You can see the garden is mostly weed free. The pre-emergent is working well. The one exception is this. This is nutsedge, yellow nutsedge. I just hit it with a second round of Roundup, and even Roundup, it's hard to kill it. And I'll show you an example. It certainly impacted it, but it's not completely dead yet. So I'll probably hit it again with Roundup. I have to do it early in the morning though, because we've been quite breezy here. But that is a weed that's really hard to get rid of. Sometimes manual pulling is the best way, but there's little underground bulbs, and you can see the difference. You can see that by the azalea. It's still kicking even though it's been hit with Roundup a couple times, whereas normal weeds look like that. So that's an impressive weed in terms of not getting killed even with Roundup. So the task today, I'm going to show you this, is to stake up or really tie up this climbing rose. This is Dublin Bay. You can see it's up toward the top of the trellis. I don't like the look of a lot of green ribbon, but I use this. I bought this on Amazon. It's a lot of different places. It's this stretchy tape. It's elastic green garden tape, and it really can stretch and bend, and I like it a lot. But I don't want to see this from my house, like a ton of tape on it. So I try to just stake, or I keep saying stake, but tie up the climbing rose very sparingly, just enough to support it, but I don't want that yellow or that green tape to be the overarching thing that you see in the garden, because that's not pretty. So the goal today is certainly to tape up this one. It's been windy recently, and we expect the next 3 days that the winds are going to be 30 miles per hour today through Mother's Day and then Monday. And you can see that, you know, this cane here is going to the left. It needs to be trained up the trellis. Unlike a vine, like a morning glory or something, clematis or something that's going to kind of grow up trellises, climbing roses need to be secured, and that's what I'll be doing today. So this is what it looks like now. This rose on the right has been tied up a little bit better through the years, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And ironically, some must have just broke off last night, because I was gonna say I don't usually leave tape in the garden just laying around, so I'm gonna have to fix that in a few spots. And you can see Dublin Bay. Let me get a better picture in the sunshine. Just a beautiful red rose, and as we said before, it's doesn't have a lot of petals, so it's one of the first blooms to open in the year, but that's a really nice one. So give me a minute here, I'll show you the after, and we're gonna get these roses taped up a little bit better on the trellis. Specifically, that left side needs to be secured, especially with the winds coming our way here the next few days. All right, this is going to be good enough for now. We pretty much addressed the issue on the left side, and it was interesting as I recorded this video, I mentioned we've been quite windy. I guess I learned a new lesson that just like a lot of things in your garden, in terms of maintenance with weeds or spraying, you know, you don't have to do a ton of work all at once, but just a little bit here and there, some light maintenance a couple times every week or a couple times a month is important. And the lesson I learned today was that this material, while it's very flexible and very strong out of the box, it does have a shelf life. This is all the stretchy green tape that had fallen out of the roses. Some of it was on the ground. Some of it I went to reuse, and it just snapped because, again, either UV or cold, hot climate, you know, eventually has worn this out. And some of this has been out here for a year or two, so it did its due diligence. But the whole point is, if you use a tape like this, like a lot of things, you're going to have to check back on it periodically. And even if it survives, these climbing roses, I'll try to link the video below. They're humongous compared to when I first planted them, so you're going to have to re-tape them up anyway. The other thing I had to kind of redo, and I don't have a really good answer for this, so comment below if you have a better one. This trellis was pretty affordable online, and the thing I like it's similar to our neighbor's fence. It's not PVC, but that poly something or other. It's not wood, it's more like a plastic, so it's going to last a long time. But because of the weight of these roses, it constantly leans back. So every once in a while we have to push it back and reinforce the back of it with rebar. So this is about like a 4 or 5 foot section pounded down into the ground. It's done its job, but if you have anything, a better support, let me know. This is in the ground and it has some weak supports in the ground. But the weight of this is just going to get bigger and bigger. So I'm just kind of curious, you know, that's probably the downside. A nice wood trellis concreted into the ground would have more structure to it, but cost, and again, this is pretty easy to put in. So comment below if you have a trellis, especially if you're in a windy climate. Again, I said the next 3 days we're going to be above 30 miles per hour. That's very common. We're 3 miles from the ocean here in where I live in North Carolina. So it's pretty, but it's also pretty windy quite a bit on the year. So that's a good look at Dublin Bay. Retied that up. We gave you a garden tour. The canna lilies are doing well and really looking good this spring. The whole garden itself, and really appreciative of the rain that we finally got last night. Expect some more rain toward Tuesday of this week, and that will be good, and that will really green up not only the roses but the whole garden itself. So have a good one. As always, I appreciate the new fans. We're almost to 400, which is very surprising. So a lot of people are into roses out there, and that's great to hear. Have a good one, everyone.